metal bolt skittered across my kitchen tile and stopped at my socked foot. It should have been on a factory floor, not in my home. A brown paper bag sat on the counter with a note in thick, irritated ink. Found this in the new press line. Call me. Milo. Price owned a machining shop that saved my employer from disaster more times than our executives ever admitted. Milo did not send surprises unless the ceiling was already on fire and everyone else was still arguing about who bought the matches. My name is Mara Davis. I am 48. I have worked at Northgate Foundry Solutions for 12 years. My job is supplier relations, which is a polite way of saying I keep promises made by people who never intend to keep them. I stayed for the paycheck, for the health insurance, for my son Evan, who is applying to colleges and pretending he is not terrified. That day, we were at a lakeside leadership summit. The conference room smelled like cinnamon air freshener and stress. A whiteboard read, Project Thunderforge, Launch Readiness. On the screen stood Samantha King, 27, Vice President of Visionary Momentum. Her father, Robert King, owned the company. She was pitching the Iron Light Expo, where we would unveil the Thunderforge series, a line of industrial presses customers had already paid deposits for. Samantha had the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no, except by a barista who has already quit inside. She swept her arm in a grand flourish and clipped the coffee tray. Mugs toppled and rolled toward me. She looked down, then up at me. Mara, could you handle that? She said, smiling like she had done me a favor. You are so good at, the little details. Not a question, a command. I knelt. The room watched like this was part of the agenda. A few people made the polite face men make when a woman is on the floor, which is to say, they looked relieved it was not them. Samantha kept talking. This reminds me of my internship. We had a supply coordinator who kept everything in his head. Very heroic, very old school. People laughed, careful laughs. Robert King smiled in the front row, the proud smile of a man watching his daughter practice being untouchable. Samantha nodded toward me. Honestly, my intern back then could map this whole launch faster than our current approach. He used spreadsheets, actual systems, not vibes. More laughter. Someone behind me muttered, not quietly enough. She probably keeps vendor phone numbers next to her lipstick. Another voice replied, At least she is useful. Operations women are always organized. I picked up the last mug, stood, and set the tray on the side counter. My face stayed calm. Inside, something locked. When the meeting ended, I stepped outside into air so cold it felt honest. I called Milo. He answered fast. Mara, they sent a new guy to my shop. Let me guess, I said. He treated you like a vending machine, but with more entitlement. He treated me like a problem, Milo replied. Demanded schedules, did not ask how my wife is doing, and tried to push a contract I have never seen. Also, he kept saying, No offense, but I need to talk to whoever runs the place. I closed my eyes. They hired a replacement. Milo swallowed hard. Then why do my people keep asking for you? What did he say? I asked. That it is a new policy, Milo said. Everything goes through him now. He threatened penalties if I do not comply, and he asked if you were really the decision maker, or just support. I let out a short laugh. Northgate loves penalties. It is cheaper than respect. Are you all right? Milo asked. I am done, I said. Do not sign anything. Do not ship anything extra. If they want Thunderforge on time, they can start by learning your name. And mine. Back in my kitchen, the bolt still sat by my foot like a warning. Around the time the sun began pretending to care. Robert King would call me into his office. He would say restructure, modernize, streamline. He would ask me to hand over everything. The problem was simple. There was no database, no portal, no neat file. There was only my head. And I had just decided to stop loaning it out to men who thought my brain came with a built-in assistant label. Robert King called me into his office sometime in the early morning. "Mara," he said, tapping a folder, "we are evolving. We hired someone with modern experience. You will support him during the transition." Support. The word landed like a paper cut, small, sharp, and designed to be ignored while it bleeds. He slid the folder across. An org chart showed my name tucked under a bold new box, Jason Reed, Director of Global Procurement. "What about Thunderforge?" I asked. "I am coordinating every supplier for that launch." "Jason will take over," Robert said. "You will brief him." "Brief him on what?" I asked. "There is nothing written down." Robert finally looked up. "What do you mean?" "There is no supplier database," I said. "No portal, no playbook. You told me to handle it quietly, so I did. I kept the relationships in my head." Robert blinked. "Why would you do that?" "Because you rewarded results and ignored process," I replied. "And every time I asked for tools, I got told to be resourceful, which is executive slang for do it for free." His face tightened. "Then document everything now. Jason will need it." In the hallway, Samantha King stopped me with a smile that had teeth. "I heard you are getting help," she said. "Try to be excited. You look tense. Are you on your cycle?" I stared at her. "I am a person," I replied, "not an upgrade, and my emotions are not your business." She laughed. "Wow, feisty. That is why you are good in operations. You just take care of things." Jason arrived before the week ended. Mid-30s, expensive watch, voice trained on boardrooms. He shook my hand like he was checking whether it was real. "So you are Mara," he said, glancing past me toward my desk. "I thought you would have an assistant." "I do," I said. "It is called competence." He opened his laptop. "Where is the vendor master file?" "There is not one," I said. He laughed. I did not. The laughter died. "Then where is the procurement portal?" I tapped my temple. "Here." Jason stared like I had offered him witchcraft. "This is not scalable," he said. "Also, no offense, but this is pretty informal. Did you learn this from YouTube?" "It scales to respect," I answered, "and I learned it from keeping this company alive." For days he demanded lists and got angry when I explained that Milo Price does not answer strangers who start with threats. Jason called Milo anyway. Milo called me afterward and sounded like he was grinding bolts between his teeth. Jason also emailed the Rodriguez brothers a contract full of penalties. They forwarded it to me with one sentence: "Is this real?" Then, Jason scheduled a meeting with Robert and Samantha and called it a risk review. He pointed at me. "Mara refuses to provide documentation," he said. "We are exposed." Samantha leaned forward. "Mara, why are you not being a team player? Do not get emotional about change," Jason added. "She is protective because she is threatened. It is natural." I smiled, because sometimes smiling is the safest way to sharpen a blade. "I have been the team," I said. "You just never bothered to notice. And Jason, I am not threatened. I am insulted." Samantha tilted her head. "So what are you going to do? Quit and start a candle business?" I set a single sheet of paper on the table. "My resignation," I said. "Effective immediately." Robert's tone turned soft, urgent. "Mara, do not be impulsive. Thunderforge is close." "Then you should have treated the person holding it together like she mattered," I said. I walked out. Back at my desk, I packed 12 years into 2 boxes, a framed photo of Evan at a science fair, a mug from a supplier picnic, and a stack of thank you cards from people Northgate called vendors. I left my drawer key on the keyboard like a tiny tombstone. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed with a text from Milo. "Good. Now what?" I typed back. "Do not panic. Do not sign. I will call you tonight." Then I silenced my phone. Calls immediately started stacking up, first polite, then frantic. I started the engine and drove away feeling lighter than I had in years. Options had finally become real, and so had consequences. The first morning after I quit, I woke up expecting guilt. Instead, I felt silence. The kind you get when a machine finally shuts off and you realize the noise was never normal. Evan was at the kitchen table working on a college essay. He looked up at my coffee. "Are you home for a holiday?" he asked. "No," I said. "I left Northgate." He blinked, then nodded once. "Did they finally do something stupid?" "They finally did something predictable," I replied. "Good," he said, and went back to typing, like I had just told him the weather. My phone rang all day. Robert, Samantha, Jason, then human resources, as if a gentle voice could unring a bell. The messages shifted from polite to frantic with impressive speed. I spent the day fixing small things I had ignored while Northgate owned my attention. A fence panel, a stubborn drawer, a loose hinge. Each repair felt like reclaiming minutes. Later, Milo called. "Jason showed up again," he said. He brought a clipboard and a contract. "2 weapons," I said. "One for paper, one for people." Milo did not laugh. He says if I do not sign, Northgate will find someone else. He also said, "I need to speak with the real decision maker." "And you told him?" I asked. Milo exhaled. "I told him the real decision maker does not take calls from men who think respect is optional." I smiled. "That is my favorite sentence today." "I do not have a lawyer," Milo whispered. "Then tell him your cousin is," I replied. "Everyone has a cousin in this economy." Milo chuckled. "Mara, I do not want trouble." "I know," I said. "Choose the version of trouble that does not sink your shop." After Milo, 2 more suppliers called with the same story. Jason demanded schedules, threatened penalties, and acted offended when they asked who he was. One supplier said Jason called me the office mom and claimed I had been coddling vendors with feelings. I told them what I told Milo. Protect yourself. Do not accept new risk without real terms. Do not let a rich man's panic become your unpaid overtime. That evening, Evan and I ate sandwiches on the porch steps while the yard went dark. "Are you nervous?" he asked. "I should be," I admitted, "but mostly I am angry. The kind of angry that finally has manners." Evan raised an eyebrow. "What does that mean?" "It means I am not going to break anything," I said. "I am just going to stop holding their world up." My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I answered before I could overthink it. "Is this Mara Davis?" a woman asked. "Yes." "My name is Dana Brooks," she said. "I run Rivet Bridge Partners. We connect manufacturers and suppliers, but we do it with contracts that do not read like threats." I sat up straighter. "How did you get my number?" "Milo Price," she said. "He said you are the reason Northgate's suppliers stayed loyal. He also said Northgate treated you like a decorative plant that could negotiate steel." "That is generous," I said. "Decorative plants get watered." Dana laughed. "I want to meet. I have a client who needs an industrial press line soon. They plan to debut it at the Iron Light Expo. Their current vendor is spiraling." "We are building an alternative," Dana continued. "Not a revenge fantasy. A real supply chain with real respect. I need someone who understands the human side and the technical side. Also, I need someone who will not accept being talked over in meetings." I looked through the window at Evan, shoulders hunched over his essay, trying to build a future from sentences. "Tell me when," I said. After I hung up, Evan glanced over. "Job offer?" "Meeting," I said. "Possibly a lifeboat." Evan smirked. "Good." I smiled back, and the smile felt like mine. Somewhere at Northgate, Jason was probably writing another penalty clause and congratulating himself for being decisive. He had no idea he was about to meet consequences, written in plain language, signed in ink, and delivered by a woman he had mistaken for background. Dana Brooks picked a diner for our meeting, the kind with cracked booths and coffee that does not pretend. It felt right. Northgate would have considered it off-brand, which is another way of saying honest. Dana skipped small talk. "Tell me the truth," she said. "How close is Northgate to missing Thunderforge?" "Close enough that they are lying about it," I replied. She smiled once. "Good. Here's why I called. Rivet Bridge Partners has a client, Harbor Line Manufacturing, that reserved a prime booth at the Iron Light Expo. They need an industrial press line. Northgate has their deposit and is making promises that sound like prayers. Harbor Line wants a solution that does not become a public mess. Then they need a new vendor, I said. They need a new network, Dana corrected. And Milo says you can build one. That afternoon, I called suppliers, one by one, and did something Northgate never did. I asked what they needed to do, good work without bleeding. Real lead times, clear scopes, payment terms that did not require begging. The requests were reasonable, which explained why Northgate avoided them. Dana drafted agreements that looked like contracts, not threats. The suppliers signed because the paper matched the respect. Northgate, meanwhile, spiraled in my voicemail. Robert's messages moved from friendly to furious. Jason emailed me with subject lines like, urgent transition materials, as if capital letters could replace trust. Samantha texted once, you are being dramatic. Stop acting like a victim. You are hurting people. I stared at it, then typed 2 words. Consequences arrive. Then I blocked her. A few days later, a letter arrived from Northgate's attorneys. It accused me of withholding company property, which was adorable because the property they meant was my memory. It also warned me to stop interfering with their suppliers. Dana read it and laughed. They do not own human relationships, she said. They just forgot to pay for them. As the expo drew closer, Northgate tried bribery. A rep offered Milo a bonus to ship early. Milo asked for the bonus in writing. The rep hung up. The Rodriguez brothers were offered future partnership. They asked for a deposit. Northgate stopped calling. Dana showed me an industry newsletter teaser. Northgate promises live Thunderforge demo at Iron Light Expo. Live demo, I said. With what machine? Dana's grin sharpened. Exactly. Harbor Line agreed to rebrand their booth, the Bright Forge line, assembled through Rivet Bridge and powered by the same partner shops Northgate had taken for granted. It was not just a product. It was proof that respect scales better than intimidation. Evan watched me coordinate calls from our kitchen. Is this your revenge plan? He asked. It is my repair plan, I said. Revenge is just the noise it makes. When the expo day arrived, I did not wear a suit. I wore a plain jacket and the calm of a woman who has stopped requesting dignity like it is a favor. Inside the convention hall, lights flashed and banners hung high. Northgate's booth was enormous, all smoke and shine. Samantha stood near the stage, smiling too hard. On their platform sat a Thunderforge press under a black cloth, like a magician's trick waiting to fail. Behind the display, I spotted Jason pacing, sweat making dark crescents under his arms. Dana leaned close. Do you think it is real? I watched Jason glance at the covered machine, the way you look at a car that will not start. Know it, I said, but I think they are going to pretend anyway. That is what men like Jason do when they run out of facts. The lights dimmed, a microphone squealed, and the show began. Northgate opened with fog machines, not a metaphor. Actual fog rolled across their stage, because nothing says industrial reliability like hiding your product. Samantha stepped to the microphone, smiling too hard. Welcome to the future of force, she announced. Welcome to Thunderforge. Phones lifted, the crowd leaned in. Jason stood nearby, grin locked in place, like confidence was a lease he could renew by lying. Samantha yanked the black cloth away. At first the press looked impressive. Polished housing, glossy decals, a control screen glowing. Then the fog thinned and reality showed its teeth. No power cables, no hydraulic lines. A handwritten sign taped to the base. Do not activate. Jason's grin twitched. Samantha kept talking faster. We will demonstrate our adaptive compression cycle, she said. Jason tapped the screen. Nothing. He tapped again. The screen flickered, then died. In the silence, someone laughed, the kind of laugh a customer makes when they realize their deposit paid for smoke. Another voice said, loud enough to cut through the fog, "So this is the innovation they demoted that woman for?" Jason snapped. She was just support. The crowd turned toward him like a single organism deciding what to devour. Samantha tried. Looks like the machine is shy. Nobody laughed. People murmured, then began drifting away in disappointment. Some walked out while still recording, because humiliation is the only product that never faces supply delays. Dana and I did not drift. We walked. Harborline's booth was smaller, but it was busy, in the only way that matters. It worked. Milo answered questions with the confidence of a man who had been treated fairly. The Rodriguez brothers showed clean tolerances to engineers who actually cared. At the center, our bright forge press sat bare and unapologetic, cables visible, hydraulics humming, no fog, no cloth, no tricks. Dana said, "If you want a demo, we will give you one." We did. The press cycled smoothly. The control panel responded like it trusted the hands touching it. People clapped because they had just watched a promise become metal. By the end of the day, Harborline's team had a line of interested buyers. Northgate had a line too, but theirs was made of angry customers and refund demands. After we shut down for the evening, Milo clapped my shoulder and said, "Feels good to build for someone who does not treat us like screws." He lowered his voice. "Also, I liked when you did not apologize for existing." The Rodriguez brothers nodded, and I realized my revenge had turned into something sturdier than satisfaction. That night, my phone rang with Robert King's number. I answered because I wanted to hear consequences speak. "Mara," Robert said, voice strained, "we need to talk. Name your price. We will triple your salary, give you any title. Jason will report to you. Samantha will apologize." "You do not need my title," I said. "You need integrity. I cannot sell you mine." His voice sharpened. "You are ruining us out of spite." "No, Swal," I replied. "You are collapsing because you built everything on unpaid trust, then mocked the person who maintained it. Also, you let men treat me like furniture while I carried your company on my back." He went quiet, then hung up. A few days later, Dana offered me a formal role at Rivet Bridge, Director of Partner Networks. Real authority, real documentation, and a policy that began with a radical concept called respect. I accepted. Northgate started issuing refunds. The industry noticed. So did the suppliers, who stopped answering Jason's calls like they were spam. Samantha emailed an apology from a personal address. No jokes, no excuses, just fear and regret. She wrote that she did not realize the comments were harmful. Like harm only counts when the person harmed is allowed to file paperwork. I replied with one sentence: learn and do not step on people who are holding you up. At dinner, Evan lifted his soda. "So you won," he said. "I did not win," I told him. "I left." He grinned. "Same thing." I laughed because he was right. Sometimes revenge is not fire and shouting. Sometimes it is quiet competence, built somewhere else, by people who remember your name. And sometimes the strongest move is simply refusing to power a machine that was never built to respect you, especially when they keep calling your work support and your spine attitude.